Lights, camera, action. It's time for another GMG review, and today we're back with Codex Genestealer Cults. I've been off for a couple weeks, and now we're back with this cool review sample copy I got from Games Workshop of the latest incarnation with a freaking scary cover of everybody's favorite Stealers of Genes, the Genestealer Cult. This is the alien invasion sort of like Vanguard. They come in, they start messing with your DNA, they start turning your friends into bald-headed, glassy-eyed freaks. It all very much has kind of a Shadow over Innsmouth sort of feel to it, if you get my drift. And then they send out like a collective psychic beacon, sort of like stemming from one. It just takes one big fat Genestealer to get on your planet. And it calls the Tyranids, and then your benevolent four-armed rescuers show up and turn you into bats of biological goo they absorb to go absorb the rest of the galaxy. So it's a very, well, it's about as grim as you can get. I mean, in here, like, I don't even know, there's like a little Tyranid baby right there. There's a weird guy with a split face and candles on his head. There's all kinds of, I don't know what's going on with this guy, but he's got kind of a fist of the North Star punch me in the head kind of look to him, where his face is ripping in half. Yeah, it's grim for sure. And then this guy's just like Lord Fancy Pants with his bone sword. I don't know, he doesn't really fit in. There's kind of a Marie Antoinette kind of thing going there, whereas everybody else is still wearing their stuff from working on the docks. Anyway, we'll dive in here. What do you get in the book? Well, it comes wrapped in plastic with, conveniently, some sexy ambush tokens and a 9-inch gauge for measuring your ambushes. This is kind of the same as in the previous, but they actually have like blip markers on them. I might use this just for something else fun. They're all the same. I don't know how I could do this. Maybe I could just mark numbers on one side, but I feel like having modern blip counters is just a cool thing I could write something fun for. I am painting some Genestealer Cult things and or playing games with Jay, so these might get used for, you know, my brain starting to work. And this is just a slipcover on the back, which I believe is just a repro of the actual back of the book. Yep, just the exact same back of the book. It is designed in the UK and printed by CNC in China. So again, these were, I think, originally slated to be released before Christmas, but have come out now. We did get a skew of books that were printed locally for a little while there, but these seem to be back and being printed in China, of course, explaining the delays. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that everywhere going into North America is backed up into the Stone Age as far as shipping containers go. And so, yeah, stuff just takes longer than normal. Then that's our new normal. So what do we have here? Well, we got a pretty pre-9th edition codex. So that means we're clocking around 100 pages usually. 112. It introduces all of the key factions, which are sort of like the, I don't know if there's like main cults, but there's certainly cults that come up again and again, or at least terminology in the cults, like the Pauper Princes, who are the ones in Shadow Throne on Terra. And we get a nice overview of, yeah, call the Tyranids, and then it does not go well. At least not as they thought it was going to. And of course, these cults can spring up anywhere. They're on planets all over the Imperium, and the sort of officials of the Imperium, you know, the Inquisition, the Adeptus Arbites, the Custodes, who are out now, like the FBI, kind of like hunting around in the galaxy, are constantly kicking over rocks looking for these guys and trying to get rid of them, because they will just get everywhere. And I mean, if you don't notice that your neighbor looks like that, you know, it's like he went from just being a normal dude to kind of purple and his eyes glow in the dark. I mean, I feel like it's your planet's fault that this happened. But it does have a cool kind of like pod person-y feel to it. Some sort of key locations, the Uprising on Chalneth. I do like all this kind of like subverted Imperial iconography, like all the big statues and stuff, where it's got kind of a, I mean, it's obviously a Genestealer, but it's got kind of a Prometheus kind of look to it. Or even the defaced Imperial stuff that's been sort of like made more Tyranidy. Some overviews of the different types of cultists and sort of like forms that they take. I do like they've even got like some Mechanicus. I don't know if this is a Tyranid thing or a Mechanicus like studying Tyranids, but obviously talking about Vigilus. I like the Chaos Space Marine or Space Marine armor just like shoved full of pickaxes. It's been torn down. And there it is. Ah, that's my stuff right there. Look at that. Good, good. I think that's a Jez Goodwin skull. Yeah, no, maybe it's John Blanche. No, it is John I can't tell. This period, I think, I'm looking for the imprint, but I think this is just a piece of the actual art piece. This part makes me want to say Jez Goodwin because the detail is so fine. I'm probably wrong. It's probably neither of them. It's probably like Dave Gallagher or something. I think it's actually Dave Gallagher. But I want to say Jez from the faces, but then the background faces are more, like that face is very John Blanche. I don't know. That one's a mystery to me because I'm only seeing part of it. But I think it's Jez Goodwin. I think it's early Jez Goodwin sketches, not John Blanche. But I can't find the imprint, so I can't actually tell because I know both of their little, like, everybody in the studio or the art used to do like little glyphs that would tell you who they were, and I can't see it because this is only a piece of the art that's cropped. Tell me in the comments that I'm completely wrong and it's neither of them, and who it actually is, because someone will obviously know. The Cult of the Foreign Emperor, and then we got all of our sort of like primaries like the Rusted Claw, the Pauper Princes, the Twisted Helix. And then some minor ones, the Inner Worm, the Behemoid Undercult, the Star Kindred, the Sons of Jormungandr, the Blessed Wormlings, and the Cult Hydraic. Oh, very cool. That guy's tongue is something else. And this guy's got like a spider crawling out of his chest. Who even knows what's going on there? Cool models. I do like the Nexos. I like the fact that he's playing 40K on his little 40K table. Oh, this looks like it's drawn from Deathwatch Overkill. Some cool Deathwatch fighting some... Actually, no, they're just Deathwatch models. They're just regular Deathwatch fighting aberrants. But that was the theme of that book, obviously, or that game, rather, box game. And then I have to say, as far as 40K goes, the Imperial Guard should be deeply jealous of just how cool the vehicles that the Genestealer Cult gets are. Like, the Jackal bikes, all of the trucks, and, like, the Achilles Ridge Runner, they're just so cool. Like, give me Imperial versions of all of these, and I will make an Imperial Guard army tomorrow. They are some of the coolest designs. Like, they have, like, a modern kind of sleek look to them. They're still, like, utilitarian, but they look like the kind of stuff you would send, like, an expeditionary fleet out to go conquer and populate the galaxy. Like, they look like STC technology. And I'm deeply jealous that, for some reason, only the Genestealer Cults use them. Instead, the Guardsmen have this. I mean, I love them, but they're not new. They are hardly new. Even the new stuff isn't new. More color stuff. And here we go, the rules. All right, Ash, you can shut up now and tell us the stuff we've actually been waiting for this whole time, which is the rules for this army. Well, a lot of it got spoiled in Shadow Throne, so I'm going to not gloss over stuff, but if it's from Shadow Throne and you've watched games of being played, unless you're totally new, I'll explain like the basics, but I'm not going to get into super amounts of detail. Got our Battleforge rules for detachments, cults, stratagems, and your planning. Your army rules for the Warlord traits, Broodmind Discipline, which is your psychic powers and your relics. And then your match play rules, which is your cool minor missions you can take. Then it's your Crusade rules, data sheets, war gear, points, and your reference. And now the Combat Patrol box. Now these are almost always mirrored by a Combat Patrol like actual box set. And that's a pretty cool box. 2 troop choices of hybrids, the Goliath, a Magos, I think, the female Magos, a unit of hybrids, and a unit of aberrants. That's a 30 model plus vehicle plus character box set. That's pretty sweet. I mean, that's a big Combat Patrol box. But I mean, these are cheap miniatures, right, in the game, so you kind of have to. All right, detachment abilities. What do you get? You get your Gene Sect, Brood Coven, and Brood Brother abilities. You get Genestealer Cult detachments, gain the Cult Creed, which is whatever your Cult Creed that you pick is, and then your troops gain OBSEC in your Genestealer Cult detachment, which means not in your Brood Brother detachment, which is worth noting. So your Gene Sect, you can include a maximum of 1 of each Genestealer Cult character model in this detachment, so no duplicating like your characters, unfortunately. For each cult model with the HQ battlefield role that takes up a battlefield slot in this detachment, 1 other Genestealer Cult character model can be included in the detachment without taking up a battlefield slot. So you basically get double the HQ slots a normal army gets. And that makes sense because you have an absolute plethora of HQ choices. There are, oh man, let's have a look here. Crusade Army, data sheets. What do we got? HQs. We've got, from the Patriarch on, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different just HQ choices. So the Magus, the Primus, the Patriarch, the Acolyte, Iron Ward, and the Jackal Alphas. And that means that you've got the ability to take them all, basically. Sorry, it's and the HQs can double up, but other characters, you can only have one of each. So the elite characters and the other characters, you only get one of each. No double slots. So Brood Coven, but it means that you can take all 5 of them in a patrol. No, 4 of them, 4 to 5 in a patrol, because you get 2 HQ slots. You take all 5 of them in a battalion, for a single battalion. And then Brood Coven, if your army includes any Patriarch models, you cannot select any other cult model to be your Warlord. But don't worry, because you can buy more Warlord traits later on. If your army does not include any Patriarch models, but does include any Primus or Magus models, you can't select any of the Genestealer Cult models to be your Warlord. And Genestealer Cult character models in the detachment do not have the HQ battlefield role, cannot have Warlord traits. So your characters that are, whatchamacallit, like the elite choices, like the cult, whatchamacallit, the Saboteur, she can't be a Warlord. And then your other ones basically have like a hierarchy. So if you have it's basically Patriarch down. If you're a Patriarch, you're in charge. If you're a Magus or a Primus, then you're next in command or whatever. And then your Cult Creed, which is of course you're going to be your sub-faction basically, like your Rusted Claw or whatever. Rusted Cog, sorry. And then Brood Brothers. So when mustering a Battleforged army, for each Genestealer Cult detachment you include, you can also include 1 Astra Militarum detachment. Even though they don't share any faction keywords. But you replace all the regiment, words and Imperium words with the Brood Brothers keyword instead. So you lose regiment and you lose Brood Brothers, which means no taking like Catachan Brood Brothers, no taking like, Cadian Brood Brothers. Like you don't get the ability to basically double dip on abilities. They cannot be selected as your Warlord, have a Warlord trait, and they can't be given any relics either. So no stealing cool stuff from the Guard Codex. But it does mean you can take things like Legion Russes and all their vehicles and stuff. The inclusion of Brood Brothers units in your army does not prevent Genestealer Cults armies from using Crossfire, provided that the total power rating of Brood Brothers units from your army is no more than 25% of your army's total. And then Brood Brother units and a Brood Brother detachment gain the following regimental doctrine: loyalty to the cult. So this is your regimental doctrine, which, because you don't have the regiment keyword, you're a Brood Brother, is the thing you get. Your +2 leadership, and the infantry units with the regimental doctrine gain the unquestioning loyalty ability, which means you can take hits for your characters, which is kind of cool. And then cults. So the cult creeds all have a Warlord trait, a Stratagem, a Sacred Relic, and a Psychic Power associated with them. And there are 6, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6. So the Four-Armed Emperor, this is kind of the big one. Their cult creed is Subterranean Ambusher. So you can reroll charge rolls for units with this creed. And each time a range attack is made with a unit with this creed, if the attacker is more than 12 away, then your creed is having the light cover all the time. So you're always kind of hidey. So reroll charges, light cover, well, it's pretty solid basic traits. And then your Warlord trait, Inscrutable Cunning. Once per battle round, when you use a Genestealer's Cult strategic ploy, if the stratagem is used on a Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor unit within 12 of your Warlord, the CP cost is -1. And you can only use this ability on each stratagem once. So no using the same stratagem over and over with a discount. Each stratagem can be used once at a discount basically, but you can use it once each battle round. And then a plan generations in the making for 0 CPs. Use a stratagem after your opponent uses a stratagem, excluding command reroll. Until the end of the battle, the CP cost your opponent must pay to use the stratagem again is increased by 1. You'll use it once. So for no CPs, once per game, they use a stratagem, and then it's +1 CP forever. That's going to get used on transhuman physiology so much, it's not even funny. So somebody goes, transhuman physiology, 1 CP, and you go, it's 2 CP forever, or it's a big unit, so 2 CP, 3 CP forever. There's a lot of that's gonna see some use. Also, I think there's a couple of Drakari ones, and there's definitely a couple of Mechanicus ones for shooting that will get upped in cost. So I think by itself, a plan generations in the making is going to make Four-Armed Emperor fairly popular. And then Relic, it's a Sword of the Four-Armed Emperor, replaces a Bone Sword or Locust Blade, and it's got +1 strength, -4 AP, 1 damage. But each time you fight, you get 4 extra attacks, and each time an attack, unmodified hits of 6 auto wound. So, yeah, 4 extra attacks, and your +1 strength means your strength like 4 or 5, but yeah, any 6 is just auto wounding at -4. It's pretty great. And then Psychic Power is Undermine. It's a Malediction, Warp Charge 7. If manifested, select an enemy unit, excluding those that can fly, and with an 18 invisible. Until the start of the next Psychic phase, they're -3 move. You have their advances, and they're -2 to charges. That's pretty great. So you can just pin a unit. And it's not non-vehicle units, so hey, Mr. Knight, you're -3 move, and also you have your advances, and you're -2 to charge. Can be super handy for pinning down big power units, or even like Gazgul, or like a Primarch or something like that. You can slow him down. The Swarmlord, although I don't know why you'd be fighting the Swarmlord. Maybe it's when he finally shows up, you're just like, oh, this was what we wanted. The Hive Cult, it's disciplined militants. Units with this creed are eligible to shoot in turn when they fell back, but they're -1 to hit. Units with this creed can perform actions in a turn in which they fell back or advanced. While a unit with this creed is performing an action, they can shoot without the action failing. So here's your button pushers. And then the Warlord trait's Hive Lord, it's an aura. While a friendly Hive Cult core unit's within 6, each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack, an unmodified score of 6 scores an additional hits, exploding 6s to hit. Within 6 hit. The relic is Volkor, is it Vakor? Vakor? Vakor. Vakor? Vakor. Vakor's Talisman. Hive Cult model only. Each time a bearer makes a melee attack, an unmodified movement roll of 5+, including invulnerable saves. No saves can be made. So if you wound on a 5+, just no saves of any kind. And that's a talisman. So it goes on anybody. Although, I guess you give it to the Patriarch. That's pretty great. I'm on a roll of 5+, no saves of any kind. Pretty good. That's a pretty sexy talisman. And then Fire Discipline for 1 CP is your stratagem. Use a stratagem in your shooting phase when a Hive Cult Crossfire unit from your army selected to shoot. Select one enemy unit without a Crossfire marker. Enemy unit gains the Crossfire marker before any attacks are resolved. Until the end of the phase, models in that Crossfire unit can only target that enemy unit. I think I'm going to skip forward actually to Crossfire, just to, because a lot of these things require that to be understood. So hang on 1 second. I'm just going to skip forward to Crossfire because I think it's in the core army rules. Hang on. We're at the beginning of this section right here. Crossfire. If every unit from your army has the Genestealer Cult keyword and the percentage ratio of Brood Brothers is specified, every unit from your army belongs to a cult belonging to the same cult, you can use Crossfire. So basically, pick one cult, don't have more than 25% Brood Brothers, you can use Crossfire. In your shooting phase, each time a Crossfire unit is selected to shoot, if all those attacks against target one enemy unit without a Crossfire marker, after resolving those attacks, the target gains a Crossfire marker. If any of the following conditions were satisfied, 5 or more of the attacks hit, and 1 or more of those attacks with a damage characteristic other than 1 scored a hit. So you need to have at least like 1 heavy weapon hit, and then 4 more regular attacks hit. So you do have to have like heavy weapons to make this work. It's a bit convoluted, but basically you gotta get 5 hits, and 1 of those hits has to have a damage more than 1. Effects of Crossfire, each time a Crossfire model makes a range attack, if the target unit has a Crossfire marker, you're +1 to hit. So that means subsequent units shooting now, because it has a Crossfire marker, are +1 to hit. Each time a Crossfire model makes a range attack, if the target unit has a Crossfire marker and was exposed, then it was selected as the target, add 1 of the attack's wound roll. And each time a Crossfire model, a Crossfire model makes a ranged attack, if the target unit has a Crossfire marker, was exposed, when it was targeted, when it was selected as the target, and within 12, when it was selected as the target does not receive the benefits of cover against that attack. So basically, you hit these guys, and if you are exposed, it means that you have no cover of any kind. So turn of target's exposed, draw a line of fire from any part of the base or hull of one model in the attacking Crossfire unit to any part of the base or hull of one other model. The target's exposed if both of the following conditions are satisfied. The line passes over any part of the base, hull, or one of more models in the target unit. That line does not pass over a terrain feature with the obscuring terrain trait unless those Crossfire units or the target are on or within that terrain feature. Or the target unit could still be targeted even if a terrain feature with the obscuring trait has between it, like it's an aircraft, it has a wound characteristic of 18 or more, etc. So not exposed means the model draws a line of sight through another unit, and then exposed means it does. So you have to basically draw a line from one of your models to another model, and it can't go over any terrain, right? So in this case it doesn't, in this case it does. And that means you're caught in the Crossfire and you're exposed. And that's what these are. Your Crossfire markers, the flip side of the ambush markers. So cool. And so that's explaining Crossfire. And that means so this CP is, when you select a Crossfire unit to shoot, select one enemy unit without a Crossfire marker, that enemy unit gains a Crossfire marker before the attacks are resolved. So basically it's 1 CP to buy +1 to hit. It's convoluted, but it means that you want to get units in between your 2 units to gain these markers, and for this one, basically for 1 CP, you can give them the marker before you roll to hit to gain the +1 to your rolls. But until the end of that phase, models not Crossfire unit can only target that enemy unit. So hooray, you have to shoot everything to one target. And then your Synaptic Blast is your psychic power. It's a Witchfire, has a warp charge of 5. If manifested, roll a d6 and add 2 for each friendly Hive Core cult unit within 6 of the Psyker. If the result's less than the movement characteristic of the close enemy unit within 18, then the unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. If it's greater, they take 3 flat mortal wounds. That's it. Yeah, so just roll a d6 adding 2, and then you're trying to get greater than their move. And the Bladed Cog, so their cult creed is Cyberguised Hybrids. They get a 6+ invul. Each time a unit with this creed is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll 1 wound roll. And add 3 to the range characteristic of ranged weapons that the models are equipped with, excluding grenades and caches of demolition charges. So, 27-inch shooting autoguns and rerolling wound rolls. Before the battle, so your Warlord trait, Single-Minded Obsession. Before the battle, select an enemy unit within, from your opponent's army. While a friendly Bladed Cog core unit is within 6 of this Warlord, each time a model in that unit makes an attack against that enemy unit, you can reroll the wound roll. So reroll wounds against 1 target. So if your opponent has a big centerpiece, the units within 6 of your Warlord basically are rerolling the wound all the time. So it makes you kind of a cool firing platform, I guess. Although you'd want to give that to... You'd probably want to buy that as a secondary, like, Warlord trait for, like, a Primus or something if you're taking a Patriarch. Because I'm kind of, like... There's really no reason not to take a Patriarch. He's your best fighter in the cult. That's not, like, big fat units of Aberrants. So... You're probably going to buy it as a secondary one. Because you're not going to have your I guess you might send him in with the Aberrants, and they can all reroll a wound. You can do that too. You can make him into a Death Star of melee, or you can have him sit back as a Death Star of shooting. Your relic is the Mark of the Clawed Omnissiah. It's a Bladed Cog model only. They get a 4+ invul. At the start of each fight phase, roll a d6 for each enemy with an engagement. On a 2 to 3, they take a mortal wound. 4 to 5, 2. 6, they take 3. So you just become really, really stabby up close. And then Xenoform Bionics is your requisition stratagem for 1 or 2. Use it before the battle when you're mustering your army. Select a Bladed Cog infantry or biker unit, and models in that unit have a 5+ invul. If the power rating is 6 or less, it's 1 CP, otherwise it's 2. So 5+ invul for, let's say, your Aberrants again. Psychic power, your Broodvolt Surge. It's an aura. It's a blessing. Has a warp charge of 5. If you manifest it until the start of your next psychic phase, when a friendly Bladed Cog unit within 3 of this Psyker, each time an attack with a damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to them, they get +1 of their armor saves. So you basically get like a little biovoltaic field. All right, Rusted Claw. Their cult creed is Nomadic Survivalists. They're the Fremen of the Genestealer Cult universe. Each time attack is allocated to a model with this creed, if that attack has an armor penetration characteristic of -1 or -2, the armor penetration characteristic of that attack is worsened by 1. Each time a unit with this creed makes a normal move or advances until the end of your shooting phase, it counts as having remained stationary. So you're always stationary, and you reduce the AP. And then each time that your Warlord traits Entropic Touch, each time this Warlord makes a melee attack, an unmodified hit roll of 6 does 2 additional hits, and improve the armor penetration characteristic of their melee weapons by 1, excluding relics. And then your relic is the Nomad's Mantle. The bearer is eligible to shoot, charge, and manifest psychic powers if they advanced or fell back. Each time this bear makes a normal move, advances, falls back, or makes a charge move, until that unit move is finished, it can move horizontally through models and terrain features, and it can't finish a move on top of their model or its base. So you're basically like a ghost. And then Drive-By Demolitions, 1 CP. It's a battle tactic. Use it after a Rusted Claw Atalan unit from your army makes a normal move, advances or falls back. 1 model in that unit can shoot with a grenade weapon if it's equipped as of the shooting phase, and if it does so, when selecting a target for that attack, enemy units that are Rusted Claw Atalan units moved within 6 of in that phase are all eligible, and until the end of the phase, do not roll to determine the number of attacks. It's always the maximum. So we're talking demo charges here. Your psychic power is Inescapable Decay. It's a malediction, has a warp charge of 6. If manifested, select 1 enemy unit within 18 invisible of this Psyker until the start of your next psychic phase. Each time a friendly Rusted Claw model makes an attack against that enemy unit, improve the AP characteristic of that attack by 1. All right, the Pauper Princes. These are the guys that were on Terra, basically, for the big fight against the Custodes. Their cult creed is Devoted Zealots. Each time a model with this creed makes a melee attack, if that model's unit made a charge move, they get +1 to hit, or heroically intervened, or were charged. They're Space Wolves, basically. Each time a combat attrition test is taken, you get to ignore all and any modifiers. And then your Warlord trait is Xenoprophet. Each time you make an unquestioning loyalty test after a saving throw is made for the Warlord and it's failed, do not roll the dice. It's automatically passed. So you just kill guys nearby. Guys just get obliterated near you if you have the unquestioning loyalty rules. And each time a saving throw is made for this warlord is failed for the purpose of the unquestioning loyalty ability, you can select one other friendly Pauper Princes or Brood Brothers unit with this ability within 6 of this warlord instead of 3. And while a friendly Pauper Prince is core units within 6 of this warlord, models in that unit can use their leadership instead of their own. So he basically just, this Xenoprophet like forces people in front of him. It basically means your Patriarch, if you take like big fat units of, I don't know, conscripts, because they're Brood Brothers and they get unquestioning loyalty, and just hover them nearby your Patriarch, you gotta blow through all those conscript wounds before you get to him, and he gets to use their leadership. Reliquary of Saint Tendark, Pauper Princes only. The bearer has the following ability. Reliquary of Saint Tendark, it's an aura. While the friendly Pauper Prince core unit is within 6 of the bearer, the models in that unit have a 5+ invulnerable save. And then Vengeance for the Martyred. Use a stratagem when a Pauper Prince's character model from your army is destroyed by an enemy unit. Until the end of the battle, each time a friendly Pauper Prince's model makes a melee attack that targets that enemy unit, they get a +1 to the wound roll. It's +1 to wound when somebody gets killed by a character. I'm sorry, when one of your characters gets killed. Last gasp is your psychic power. It's Warp Charge 5. If manifested, select a friendly Pauper Prince's core unit with an 18 and visible to the psyker. If they're destroyed by a melee attack, roll a d6 and on a 5+ after the attacking model's unit has finished making its attacks, it suffers a mortal wound. But only a maximum of 5 mortal wounds per phase results as psychic power. So basically you have an exploding like splashback for when your guys die in melee. And that is pretty cool. Because again, you're just shoving like big Brood Brother units of... I just see conscripts in the future of a Genestealer Cult player if they're playing Pauper Princes. And Pauper Princes is, I don't know, +1 hit in melee when you charge and no combat attrition. And then Xenoprophet is a very cool Warlord trait for a Patriarch if you're going to take them. And they have to be your Warlord anyway, so... I don't know. It's pretty good. And then Twisted Helix, Cult Creed, Experimental Subjects. Add 1 of their strength, just period. Add 1 of their move, and then each time an attack is made against a unit with this creed, an unmodified wound roll of 1 or 2 always fails. This one right here. This one might be it. Best you can wound on is 3+. For a toughness 3 army, that's a huge deal. And yeah, they're +1 strength and move. So everybody gets this Cult Creed. That's bananas. And yeah, being a Brood Brother, I think, allows you to also have the Cult Creed, if I remember correctly. Oh no, you don't. You get the Regimental Doctrine. That's it. What do you get? You get the following rules. They can have a Warlord trait. They can't be given any relics. No, they don't get Cult Creed. All Genestealer Cult units in your army and all the models in them gain the Cult Creed provided. No, you just get the loyalty to the cult. That's all you get. That Regimental Doctrine. Still, very cool that you get to have +1 strength and move on all your guys. Then your Warlord trait is Bioalchemist, +1 damage to all your melee weapons, excluding relics. Hui. And then Elixir of the Prime Specimen, Twisted Helix model only, select 1 genomic enhancement for the bearer. It comes later on, even though it is not a core or aberrant unit. If your army includes any Biophagous units, you can select 2 genomic enhances instead. So your relic is you get to buy 2 enhancements for a non-core or aberrant unit. Monstrous Biohorrors is your CP. For 1 CP, sorry. Used in the fight phase when a Twisted Helix aberrant or abominant unit from your army is selected to fight. Until the end of the turn, each time an enemy model is destroyed by an attack made by a model in that unit, it counts as 2 for the purpose of morale tests. Each time a model in that unit fights, it can frenzy. If it does so, until the fight is resolved, add 1 to its model's attacks and change the damage of melee weapons. It's equivalent to 1. So you can go +1 attack, -1 damage. And then your psychic power is Mutagenic Deviation. It's a blessing. Warp Charge 5. Select a visible Twisted Helix unit within 12 of the Psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, each time a model makes a melee attack, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds. That's it for our cults. I don't know. The core one's cool. The Twisted Helix is the upfront, like, sexiest, I think. Although Pauper Princes is pretty great too for Xenoprophet and just the ability to stay alive. Because obviously when you're playing an army of massed squishy models, getting there can be a big problem, and both of these are pretty nice. But then just the main Four-Armed Emperor, Subterranean Ambushers, Ruling Charges, and Inscrutable Cunning as well, being able to mess up people's stratagems. Stratagems are such a big part of the game now. It's pretty cool. So those 3, I think, compete pretty hard with each other. Although, obviously, stat buffs are pretty great. And then your myriad cults, you can basically build your own cult as well. And if you want, you just pick 2 of these things, and that's it. Each myriad cult creed has a displayed value. Once like your myriad cult creed, their combined value cannot exceed 4. So sorry, you don't pick 2, you pick up to 4. So like if you take Splinter Cult, then you get to buy one of the other characters' cult creeds. And it's like making you a basically like a subsidiary of that cult. It's kind of like taking the successor chapter rules in a Space Marine army. And then you've got Hunter's Instincts for 3, reroll charge rolls. Impassioned for 3, which each time a model of this creed makes a melee attack, if that model made a charge move, +1 to hit. So you're kind of breaking off the ones from the other cults. Symbiotic Broodmind for 3. You can shoot when you fall back for -1. And then you can mix that with all the ones. So the ones would be things like Accustomed to Toil. Each time an attack is made against a unit with this creed, unmodified wound rolls of 1 or 2 always fail. I can't believe that costs 1. That's crazy. And you can have 4 ones if you want. So each time an attack is made against you, modified rolls of 1 or 2 always fail to wound. Industrial Affinity. Each time a model of this creed makes an attack with an industrial weapon, they can ignore any hit roll modifiers. Alien Fury. Move additional inch when you consolidate or pile in. War Convoy. Each time a vehicle or biker model of this creed would lose a wound, 6+ wound shrug. So Synaptic Resonance. Each time a psych test is taken for you with this creed, you can reroll any and all dice of 1 or 2. And Cold-Eyed Killers. Each time a model of this creed makes a melee attack on an unmodified wound roll of 6, improve the AP by 1. So Accustomed to Toil, Cold-Eyed Killers, and like War Convoy. Those are pretty great. I don't know. They're all, like, all the ones are good. And then all the 2s are Deep Supplies. If you're selected to shoot and fight, you can reroll 1 wound roll. Agile Guerrillas. Each time a model of this creed makes a normal move or advances, you count as being remain stationary. If you select this creed, you cannot select the opposite one, which is sorry. What's the opposite? The Martial Creed opposite. Is that Accustomed to Toil? I don't know. If you select this creed, you cannot select the Martial Creed opposite. Oh, Martial, this one. It's like, what's a Martial Creed? There's one called Martial. I'm just an idiot. Thralls of the Patriarch. Each time a combat attrition test is taken, ignore all the modifiers. Toxin Agents. Each time a model for this creed makes a melee attack against a unit, a modified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds, excluding vehicles and monsters. And then Martial. Each time a Crossfire infantry model from your, with this creed makes a ranged attack, unless the model's units have moved this turn. The target is treated as having a Crossfire marker for the attack. If you select this creed, you cannot select the Agile Guerrillas creed opposite. So obviously, while you are able to kind of create and mix and match here, and Accustomed to Toil is amazing. Some people might not think so, but I feel like any kind of even like watered down transhuman physiology across your entire army can be a huge deal on a 6-sided dice game. You are giving up all the psych powers, warlord traits, and relics, and some of those are pretty great. So I don't know if making a cult is going to be as, I think, advantageous as taking one of the main ones, but that's just me and my terrible opinion, so take that with a grain of salt. All right, stratagems bore through, because these are all minors for some reason, every single Genestealer cult. Use stratagem in the fight phase when a Genestealer cult unit from your army is selected to fight until the end of the phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack with an industrial weapon, reroll the wound roll against enemies, monsters, and vehicles. Rapid advance, 1 CP. Use your movement phase when a Genestealer, cult biker, or cult vehicle unit advances. You just automatically go 6. And it's for all models in the unit, so if you have a multiple unit of bikes or something like that, they all go 6. One with the Shadows for 1 CP. Using your opponent's shooting phase when Genestealer Cult infantry unit from your army is selected to be the target of an attack until the end of the phase. Each time a ranged attack is allocated to that unit while it's receiving cover, add an additional -1 to any. Add an additional 1 to any armor saving throws made against that attack. So you double down on cover instead of being +1, you're +2. Dig them out for 1 CP. Use it in your shooting phase when a cult unit from your army is selected to shoot. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack with an industrial weapon, the target is within 12 of it that's treated as being exposed for that attack. So you're automatically exposed if you're within 12, even if you're in cover terrain. And then overload fuel cells for 1 CP, which basically means you're buying +1 to hit. Overload fuel cells for 1 CP. Use it in your shooting phase when a Genestealer Cult unit from your army is selected to shoot, or in the fight phase when they're going to fight until the end of the phase. Each time an industrial weapon is selected for a model in that unit to attack with, you can overload it. And if you do until the end of the phase, each time a model makes an attack with it, you're +1 to damage, +1 to strength, and unmodified hit rolls of 1 give you a mortal wound. So you can jack up your weapons to fight harder, but then they hurt you back. 1 or 2 CP from Monstrous Vigor. Use it when an aberrant or abominant unit in your army selects as a target. You gain transhuman physiology. If it's 5 or fewer models, it costs 1. If otherwise, it costs 2. So the best people can win you on is a 4+. Every army now apparently gets transhuman physiology in some way. I mean, I guess it makes sense for these armies, but it's everywhere now. Raking Fire for 1 CP. Using the shooting phase when an Atalan or Achilles Ridge runner from your army is selected to shoot. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, if the target has a Crossfire marker and was exposed when they're selected as the target, you can reroll the hit roll. Note the target must be exposed as specified on page 89 rather than by any other means like priority target, which is a later CP. Massed Firearms for 1. Using shooting phase when a Genestealer Cult Crossfire unit from your army contains 6 or more models is selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time they make a ranged attack, if all the models in that target unit target a single enemy and it has a Crossfire marker, unmodified hit rolls of 6 automatically wound. Devoted Crew for 1 CP. Use it on a Genestealer Cult vehicle in your command phase. Until your next command phase, everybody's got full wounds. So, hooray! You've not been injured for the purpose of shooting. Hypermetabolism for 1 CP. Use it on Genestealer Cult character. You heal D3 wounds. You just got a healing ability. Heroic recovery in 40k. That's sweet. 1 CP for Rig to Blow. Use it in any phase when a cult vehicle model from your army that's equipped with a cache or demolition charge is destroyed, they just blow up. So for 1 CP, you can just detonate. And then Data Parasite for 1 or 2. Using your movement phase, select 1 enemy vehicle model with an 18 invisible of a Clamavus model. Now, if that vehicle model's characteristics can change if it suffers damage, roll a die. On a 3+ until the serving next command phase, have its remaining number of wounds. If the vehicle is Titanic, it costs 2 CPs, otherwise 1. So you can hack the planet and count you as being half wounded, basically, which is a big deal for some of them. 2 CP for Legendary Demise. Use stratagem in any phase when a Kellamorph model from your army is destroyed. He goes all John Weck. Don't take him off. He gets to shoot like it was a shooting phase, and then take him off. So he goes all Neo at the end of the Matrix. Gestalt Consciousness for 1 CP. Use stratagem in your psych phase when a cult psyker model manifests a blessing that instructs you to select a friendly unit. When selecting a unit to be affected, you can select one that's anywhere in the battlefield and does not have to be visible. So you think your way to victory. 1 CP for Reckless Demolitions. Use it in the fight phase when a Genestealer Cult unit from your army is selected to fight. Select a model equipped with a grenade weapon. Till the end of the phase, the model can only attack with that grenade weapon, even though it is not a melee weapon, and even if it has the blast characteristic, and can do so even if it's within engagement range of the enemy. When it does so, make a number of attacks equal to its weapon's type characteristic. Each time you make an attack with that weapon, an unmodified hit roll of a 2+ is always successful. And an unmodified hit roll of 1, after it's finished, 1 model in that unit is destroyed. So basically, you can throw your demo packs up close. You can go all broken arrow. 1 CP for Leader of the Cult. You can use a stratagem once to buy an additional Warlord trait. If your Warlord's a Cult Patriarch. So you can select 2 other models with the HQ battlefield roll and give them Warlord traits. So it's custom built basically for the way this army's HQ structure is designed. Take the Patriarch, 1 CP, 2 other models get Warlord traits. Sweet. And then 1 CP for Genesire's Gifts. Use stratagem before the battle when you're mustering your army. If your Warlord has a Genestealer Cult keyword, select 1 Genestealer Cult character to gain a Sacred Relic of the Cult. And each relic in your army must be unique and nobody can have 2. You can use it twice if you're playing Strike Force. Or 3 times if you're playing Onslaught that nobody plays. 2 CPs for Pack Hunter. Use stratagem in your shooting phase. Select 1 enemy unit within 6 invisible to a Cult Atalan Jackal unit. Jackal? Isn't it Jackal? Until the end of the phase, each time a model another friendly cult unit makes a ranged attack against that enemy unit, treat the enemy unit as being exposed for that attack. Sweet. So 2 CPs to buy exposed. 1 CP for Cult Lineage. Use a stratagem in your charge phase. Select an Acolyte Hybrid or Metamorphs unit from your army. Until the end of that turn, if that unit is eligible to charge in a turn in which it advanced. So run and charge for 1 for those. 2 CPs for Meticulous Uprising. Use stratagem when you reveal your ambush markers. If you're playing a combat patrol or incursion battle, you remove 1 of your ambush markers. If you are playing a strike force, you can remove up to 2. For each ambush marker that you remove, set them up anywhere in the battlefield, not within 9 of the enemy. Once you've done so, reveal the rest of them as normal. So basically, For 2 CPs, pick 2 of your ambush markers and just put them anywhere on the table, which is super powerful, not within 9. And I don't think it says they can't move. For each ambush marker removed, set them anywhere on the battlefield that is wholly within your deployment zone. Sorry, wholly within the deployment zone, and more than 9 away from the enemy. So you have to be within your deployment zone. My bad, not even the battlefield. But still, redeploy 2 is super powerful in some cases. 1 CP for clandestine goals. Use a stratagem after selecting secondary objectives or agendas. Choose one of your selections and don't reveal it to your opponent. The first time you score points or experience points from that selection, reveal it to your opponent. And note that you will still record your selection. We recommend writing it down and concealing it until revealed. You only use this once. No one is going to use that. I mean, for 1 CP, I would have just made that an army rule. I would have just said that you don't have to reveal your secondary objectives until you score them. That would have just been a cool Genestealer Cult army rule. No one's going to pay a CP for that. That's a silly thing. And no, you're not going to spend a resource on that. That should have just been like a cool, if you take one of the characters, maybe they can do that, like the Primus or something. Booby trap for 1 CP, strategic ploy stratagem. Use the stratagem at the end of your turn. Select 1 objective marker you control that has a reductus saboteur or Genestealer Cult core unit from your army within range of it. The next time an enemy unit that's not aircraft ends any kind of move within range of that objective marker, roll a d6. On a 2 to 4, they take d3 mortal wounds. On a 5+, they suffer 3 mortal wounds. You can only select each objective marker for the stratagem once. You can basically booby track all the objectives. Lurk in the shadows for 2 CPs. Use it at the start of your opponent's shooting phase. Select a Genestealer Cult infantry unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, each time an enemy model shoots, if that unit is not the closest eligible target or within 12 of that enemy model, that unit, then until that shooting is resolved, the enemy cannot target that unit. In addition, until the end of the phase, if the selected unit has the bodyguard ability, it loses that ability. So basically, if they're not the closest, they're not within 12, they can't be targeted. Sorry, the enemy unit cannot target that unit. But it loses bodyguard, I guess, is a trade-off, so that you can't make them invincible. And then return to shadows for 1 CP. Use the stratagem in your movement phase. When a Genestealer Cult infantry unit from your army is selected to move, or in the fight phase, after a Genestealer Cult infantry unit from your army has resolved all its attacks, but before it makes a consolidation. If that unit's more than 6 away from any enemy units, remove from the battlefield, and in the next reinforcement step of your movement phase, put anyone in the battlefield more than 9 from the enemy. So don't do that before the, like on turn 4. They have to return before the game ends, but you can just pick people up and put them somewhere else. Covering fire for 1 CP, use a stratagem in your charge phase. Select 1 enemy unit that has a crossfire marker. Until the end of the turn, they can't fire overwatch, set to defend, or perform heroic interventions. Getting rid of heroic intervention actually is a huge deal. The other 2 could be a big deal, but yeah, getting rid of heroic intervention is a huge deal. Tunnel crawlers for 1, using your charge phase, select 1 area terrain feature. Until the end of the turn, each time a Genestealer Cult infantry unit from your army declares a charge against an enemy unit in that terrain feature, they can't overwatch or set defend, and they ignore the effects of difficult drowned, so no minus to movement. Fanatical devotion for 1 CP. Using the heroic intervention step of the opponent's charge phase, select 1 enemy unit that's within engagement range of a Cult Patriarch, Cult Primus, or Cult Magus unit from your army. 1 friendly Cult core unit within 6 of the enemy unit and not within engagement range of any enemy units can perform a heroic intervention. So you basically pile in to go save people. And they can move 6 instead of 3, and they don't have to finish the move close to the closest enemy model. Instead, at least 1 enemy unit must move within engagement range of the selected enemy unit. 2 CPs for roaming engagement. Use a stratagem in your shooting phase after making attacks with an Atalan or Achilles Ridge Runner from your army. The unit can make a normal move of 7 inches as if it was your movement phase. Until the end of the turn, that unit is not eligible to declare a charge. So basically a 7-inch turbo boost. Coordinated assault for 1 CP. It's a Genestealer Cult. Use it at the start of the fight phase. Select 1 enemy unit that has a crossfire marker and is within engagement of any Genestealer Cult units from your army. Until the end of the phase, they cannot fight until all eligible units from your armies have done so. So basically you go first and they go last. Neural Overload for 1 CP. Use in your shooting phase or the fight phase after making an attack with a Sanctus model from your army. If an enemy model lost any wounds as a result of an attack but not destroyed, roll 3d6. If it's greater than leadership, they lose their aura abilities and they suffer a Perils of the Warp if they're a Psyker. And each enemy unit can only be affected by this stratagem once per. Summon a familiar for 1 CP. Using the command phase, select a Genestealer Cult model that used to have a Psychic or Alchemicus familiar. You get them back. Cool. But each Genestealer Cult unit model from your army can only be selected by this once. And then 1 CB for primed explosive, used in your shooting phase when a Genestealer Cult model from your army shoots with a graded weapon or a cache of demolition charges. Until the end of the phase, do not roll to determine the number of attacks, it's just automatically the maximum. Alright, then we got Proficient planning. So these are basically your chapter-like positions. This is your upgrades you buy for a Genestealer Cult army. Select a Genestealer Cult unit from your army, then select 1 abilities for it to gain. And it's any Genestealer Cult unit. So your Genestealer Cult units can have Proficient planning, like lying in wait. So some are infantry only, some are Primus only, some are Crossfire units only. It's worth noting, the Crossfire units are things that basically aren't characters. So you can't claim actually, I think maybe the gun one is the Kellermorph a Crossfire? Yeah, of course he is. So the only character with Crossfire is the Kellermorph, which I think is highly appropriate. But Crossfire is limited to things that could basically lay down a bunch of Crossfire. So like your Adelan Jackals, your Achilles Ridge Runner, your Goliath Rock Grinder, your Rock Trucks, and then also I'm pretty sure all of the troop choices that have guns. So Neophyte Hybrids get it, Pure Streams obviously don't because they don't have guns, Metamorphs do, Aberrants don't, Abominants don't, but it's your units basically that can cause Crossfire. Alright, so 20 points for lying in wait, infantry only. When this unit set up on the battlefield as reinforcements, it can lie in wait if it does so. Set up anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 3 away from enemy models, but you can't charge. So you can show up super close, but no charges. You could heroically intervene later. Exact planning, Primus models only, once per battle in your command phase. This model can use this ability. If it does so until the end of the phase, this model can use a Meticulous Planner ability 1 additional time. And each time this model uses that ability, you can select 1 friendly cult core unit within 9 of this ability. Instead of just any cult unit, not just cult core. So for those of you who don't remember Meticulous Planner, because I don't, it's funny because I looked at it when I was doing the Shadowtron thing. Reroll Wound Rolls of 1, that's right. So you can make anybody reroll Wound Rolls of 1 once per battle. Alchemist Supreme for 15. Biophages model only. When you give a unit this ability, select 1 Cult Core or Cult Aberrant unit from your army. Then select 1 Genomic Enhancement from that unit to gain. So it's later on. A Trap Sprung. When this unit is set up on the battlefield as reinforcements, the result of being underground until the end of the turn, each time a charge roll is made, they can roll additional die and discard a die. So roll 3, pick the highest. That one is 15. A Perfect Ambush for Crossfire units. When this unit set up on the battlefield as reinforcements, uses ability. If you do, select an enemy unit within 12 of this unit until the end of the turn. Each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack against that enemy unit, the tree is having a Crossfire marker and is being exposed. So basically, a Perfect Ambush is the buy a Crossfire for a turn. Basically, 15 points to buy +1 to hit when you show up as reinforcements. And then from every angle, at start of the first battle round, if the mission uses the Strategic Reserves rule, you can this unit can be placed in a reserve without any CPs being spent. And then when setting this unit up, treat the current battle round as being 1 higher. So note this means that this can arrive on the first battle round. So for 10 points, you can show up from Strategic Reserve on the first turn for free. So, and it's any unit that could go into reserve. So that means Genestealers or Barons. Pretty cool. I think you can only have 1 of these each. Yeah, each unit can only be upgraded once. And you cannot select Proficient Planning abilities for a Genestealer Cult unit if another Genestealer Cult unit already has it. So everybody can only take these once. And you only take each one once. Excavate costs 20. Before the battle of this unit set up underground, it can excavate. If it does so in the Resolve Pre-Battle Abilities step, of the battlefield. Select 1 terrain feature on the battlefield, and that terrain feature loses defensible, heavy cover, light cover, and inspiring traits, and gains the difficult ground trait. So you can just demo a piece of terrain, basically. They came from below for 10 points. Non-vehicle unit only. If this unit is set up in ambush, then when revealing it, you can do one of the following. Remove 1 ambush marker from your battlefield, and set up this unit underground instead. After setting this unit from an ambush marker, the unit can make a normal move as opposed to movement phase, but has to end outside of 9 enemy models. So a pre-game move, or a pre-turn move basically, of 9 of like a normal move, but you have to end outside of 9. That could be handy if you're going second, and it costs 10 points. So as a response for your ambush markers, it's pretty good. Actually, it's not so good if you're going second because you reveal at the end of your opponent's move. No, at the beginning of your opponent's movement phase? End of your opponent's movement phase. You reveal during your opponent's turn, so it's not that great. It would just mean you get shot. Our time is 9. The first time this unit is selected to fight in this battle, until that fight is resolved, add one of the attack characteristic of models in that unit. This is not cumulative with the additional attacks granted from the Might Beyond. So 15 points for additional attacks. Warlord traits, all right. We've got Focus of Adoration. While a friendly core cult Genestealer unit is within 6 of this Warlord, that unit can perform heroic interventions. Shadow Stalker. Each time an attack is made against them, they're -1 to hit. Biomorph Adaptation, +1 attack and toughness. That's pretty great. Prowling Adjutant. Once per turn, when this Warlord is selected to target a charge, before the charge roll is made, and after any Overwatch, it can make a normal move up to 6 inches. So you just crawl away. And then Alien Majesty, +3 to your auras, and +3 to the following abilities, if they have any. Jackal, Meticulous Planner, and Priority Target. Preternatural Speed. Each time this Warlord makes a melee attack, reroll the hits, and at the start of the fight phase, they always fight first. So that's, again, I think Biomorph Adaptation and Preternatural Speed will be definitely... Shadow Stalker's good too. Lots of things ignore negative modifiers to hit now, though. Always being tougher with extra attacks is very nice, and then fighting first and rerolling hit rolls is also very nice. Broodmind Disciplines. These are your psych powers. Mass Hypnosis. It's a malediction with a warp charge of 7. Pick an enemy unit with an 18 invisible, and until the start of the next psychic phase, they're -1 their attack characteristic, and they fight last. Mind Control. Malediction with a cast of 6. Manifest select an enemy unit with an 18 invisible. Until the start of your next psychic phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, they're -1 to hit. And if the result of the psychic test was equal or greater than their leadership, they're -1 to their leadership characteristic and combat attrition tests. So you just start jacking people's brains up. Psionic Blast. It's a Witchfire. Cast on 5. Select an enemy unit with an 18 invisible. For the purpose of selecting an enemy unit, unless the enemy unit is within engagement range of this Psyker, the Lookout Sir rules applies as if this Psychic power was a ranged weapon. Take D3 mortal wounds, and if the result of the Psychic test was equal or greater than their leadership, take 3 instead of D3. So, very good sniping weapon, but they don't let you shoot characters with it. Mental Onslaught, Witchfire, Warp Charge 5, select an enemy unit within 24 invisible, and roll 4d6 for each result of 5+ to take a mortal wound. If any models in that unit are destroyed as a result of these mortal wounds, but that unit is not destroyed, keep repeating the process and reducing the number of dice rolled by 1 each time, until any of the following are true. The number of dice rolls is 0, you don't roll any 5+, or no models are destroyed. So, yeah, you could roll maximum 4 + 3 + 2 + 1, so 10 dice on 5s, killing guys. Psychic Stimulus, that'll be good for killing orc boys, actually. It's a Blessing, cast on 6. Select a friendly cult unit with an 18 invisible. Until the start of your next psychic phase, that unit's eligible to shoot and declare charges when they advanced or fell back, and they do not suffer the assault penalty incurred for firing assault weapons in which the term in which they advanced. And then Might from Beyond, Blessing on 6. Select a friendly cult unit with an 18 invisible. Until the start of your next psychic phase, add 1 of their attack characteristic, so you can jack people up. All right, Relics. We're almost home. The Sword of the Void's Eye replaces a Cult Bone Sword or Locust Blades. +2, -3, 2 damage, and you can reroll the hit roll and the wound roll. Oh, pretty good. Reroll everything, -3, 2 damage. The Hand of Aberrance for a Toxin Injector Claw. It's user strength, -2, 3 damage. Each time they fight, make an additional attack with this weapon. If you're not fighting vehicles or Titanic units, unmodified wound rolls of 2+ are always successful. Amulet of the Voidworm, 4+ invul. Once per battle, when the attack is allocated to this bearer, it can channel the Shadow of the Warp. And if it does so, the saving throw is automatically a 6. Each time the bearer declares a charge, enemy models that were targeted cannot fire Overwatch or set defend. That's a pretty great generic amulet for your big fighty character. The Oppressor's Bane goes to an auto pistol. Strength 4, pistol 3, strength 4, -2, 2 damage. And each time attack is made with this weapon, the target's treated as having a crossfire marker and being exposed. Holy moly. So you're +1 to hit. And no cover. Wormtooth rounds for a Kellamorph model only. Each time the bearer shoots, you can select any number of Liberator auto stubs it's equipped with to fire Liberator Wormtooth rounds. If you do so, they have the following profile. Have you won? Strength 6, -3, 3 damage. Huh. A Liberator Wormwood round does not have the Liberator auto stubs abilities, so no bonus hits, no chain fire, but 6 -3, 3 damage that's some dead custodies right there. Dagger of Swift Sacrifice, model equipped with the Magus Biodagger or Sanctus Biodagger. You can reroll 1 wound roll, making the attacks when you fight. Each time the bearer has fought, select one enemy model that lost any wounds, and roll a d6 on a 3+, they take d3 mortal wounds. But if they're destroyed, any excess mortal wounds are ignored in this case, because it's them like blowing up from the injection. The Crouchling. Once per psych phase, reroll 1 psych test for this model, and each time a psych test is passed, if all dice results of that test were the same, the psych power or psych action cannot be denied. So roll any doubles or triples. I guess just roll any doubles, and you can't deny it. Gift from Beyond goes to your Cult Sniper Rifle. Strength 5, -3, 3 damage. No lookout, sir. And an unmodified unmodified wood roll? I think that's supposed to be wound roll. It's just a typo. A 4+ inflicts a mortal wound on the target in addition to normal damage. The Unwilling Orb. What makes this orb unwilling? The bearer can attempt to deny 1 additional psych power, and while the bear's in the battlefield, it can do so from any range, not just 24 inches. Each time the bearer attempts to manifest a malediction or witchfire, add 1 to its psych test. That's a very cool additional relic for a Magus. Cranial Inlay for a Nexus. While the bear's in the battlefield, each time you spend a command point on a 5+, it's refunded. The bearer can use a strategic coordination ability 1 additional time per turn. And then the Voiced Liberator for a Clamavis model, DJ Jazzy Genestealer. Add 6 to their Proclamation Hailer and Voice of New Truths ability. And while friendly cult units within 12 of the bearer, add 1 to leadership characteristic models, not unit. There we go. Holy moly. And then, now this is Dave Gallagher right here. This one I know for sure. Sweet. And I've instantly said that very convincingly and am now doubting everything I've just said. I haven't had enough coffee today. Chapter pre-rules. These are 3 different bespoke objectives we can take. So, Sabotage Critical Location. After choosing deployment zones, your opponent must place 2 critical location markers on the battlefield. Each of their critical location markers must be more than 9 away from any battlefield edge and more than 9 away from any other critical location marker. If both players place these markers, the player alternate doing so, starting with defenders if you're playing a mirror match. If you select this objective, then units from your army gain the following action. Sabotage Critical Location. 1 or more infantry or biker units, excluding character units other than the Reductus Saboteur, can start to perform this action at the end of the move step of the movement phase. You must be able to be within 3 of the center of this of a different one of your opponent's critical location markers, and no enemy units, excluding aircraft, can be within 3 of the center of that critical location marker. The action is completed at the end of your turn, provided the unit performing it is still within range. If this action is successful completed, you've sabotaged the critical location or moved from the battlefield. So on battle round 2, it's worth 9. On 3, it's worth 7. 4, it's worth 5. 5, it's worth 3. So that's, your opponent's going to place them, which makes them hard to do, and there's only 2 of them. So you want to try and get them on turn 3 if possible, but if you can get them on turn 2, that's crazy. Some armies that have a hard time defending them too, like Knights, right, where you get 4 or 5 models, you got to cam out on these and still hold objectives too. And then Battlefield Supremacy's Brood Swarm. At the end of your turn, score 1 victory point for each of the following that applies to a maximum of 4. This is kind of like the Marine one. You have more models within your opponent's deployment zone than your opponent does. You have more models within your deployment zone than your opponent does. You have more models in the battlefield that are not within either player's deployment zone than your opponent does, and all 3 of the following bullet points apply. So, have lots of models is this one. You'd score 5 just by keeping your opponent out of your deployment zone, but having more models doesn't last long. So, you need to score this at least 3.5 times, 3.75 times to get max score with it. So it's good, but it's how long you can have more models. It'll depend on the pairing, probably. Purge the enemy. Progressive. At the end of your turn, score victory points in the following ways. Score 1 if 1 or more enemy units were destroyed this turn that had a crossfire marker. That one's pretty cool. Score 1 victory point if 1 or more enemy units were destroyed this turn by a unit from your army that was set up from ambush or underground. Score 1 victory point if one or more enemy units were destroyed this turn as a result of a ranged attack made by a model from your army, and that unit was exposed when it was selected. Note the enemy unit must have been exposed as specified on page 89 rather than by priority targets. So you can't buy the exposed condition. And you do that for 5 turns to get max score, because it's maximum of 3 each. But you're going to do it through doing things you do anyway, so not a terrible objective. And then Crusade rules. Hey, look, you can buy Brood Brothers in your Crusade and a Brood Coven. When you add a Patriarch model to your Crusade force, if your order battle does not use any other Patriarch models, you can use the Warlord trait requisition for 0 RPs. And then your agendas are things like the Genestealer's Kiss. Keep a Genestealer's Kiss tally for each Patriarch and Genestealer unit in your army. Add 1 to the Genestealer's Kiss tally each time it destroys an enemy unit with a melee attack. And then you gain experience for each one. So every time you make more Genestealers, you get to earn experience. Prepare for the Day of Ascension, which I like. You prepare as an action. Your core units can perform this action in the movement phase. Each unit from your army that starts or performs an action within area terrain that has not been prepared by your army during the battle or within one of a different obstacle terrain feature that's not been prepared. The action is completed at the end of your next command phase. You get an experience points for each for the first mark, and then additional for every 2 marks after that. So you're basically graffitiing the place. And then topple the false temple. You can destroy like piece of terrain. Your requisitions, your cool relics, and then cool battle traits like being a guerrilla, elusive raiders, charge engines, armor plating, telepathic failings as battle scars, so like you can't talk to each other across the battlefield. In the shadow of your betters, I like that one. And then the path to ascension. You get to try and take over different planets, walk the path. And the day of ascension comes, and the Tyranids begin to arrive. And it gets worse and worse. I think that's awesome. How many institutions did you infiltrate? The total of 3 institutions. So how many, basically, the Day of Ascension comes whether you want to or not, and it's how much have you infiltrated before people arrive. And then for what you've infiltrated, it gives you different abilities and stuff too. So I like this Crusade set because it basically allows you to play the story of a system falling to Genestealer Cults. All right, let's check out some data slates. All right, we've been through all this pretty much during the Shadow Throne review, but I'll talk about this stuff again. So you don't place your models on the table, you conceal them, they set up an ambush, you put tokens down where all your units are going to be, and then either at or underground. And if you have the first turn, you reveal them at the start of your command phase, so you place them all within 6 of the marker, and not within 9 of the enemy, and in your deployment zone. And if it's during your opponent's turn, you reveal them at the end of your opponent's movement phase. So your opponent doesn't really know where you are at the start of the game, and you get to reveal them. And obviously this interacts with CPs and stuff. Unquestioning loyalty is each time a cult character model from your army fails a saving throw, and there's other cult-friendly models within 3 of the character. They get to roll a d6, adding 1 if the character model is a Patriarch. And on a 4+, they take a mortal wound. The friendly model you selected is destroyed, so not even wounded. So don't select multi-wound models. And the attack sequence ends. So you can shrug wounds into units, basically. And so the auto-pass one is kind of amazing for that reason. We already went through Crossfire. And then summon the cult. Each time a neophyte hybrids unit from your army summons the cult, d6 destroyed models can be added back to that unit. Each time any other Genestealer Cult model does it, they return d3 models. So there is a lot of model regeneration and recurrence in this list. All right, the Patriarch, we saw him in Shadow Throne along with the Primus and the Magus. These are identical. I looked through before, and they're just the same data slates. The Acolyte Iron Ward, his cool cult banner lets him do an action. At the end of the move phase, you can plant the banner. This action completes at the start of your charge phase. And then everybody gains the following aura. While a friendly cult infantry, cult biker, or cult character model is within 6, they get +1 to charges. And then in your command phase, any friendly cult core unit within 6 of this model, they can summon the cult. So all your core units gain a banner if they didn't have one. And that's cool because these guys don't have a banner. So your Acolyte hybrids, if the Icon Wards there, get guys back. They get d3 models back. And for these more expensive models, it's a big deal. Unfortunately, Jackals, not core. The Jackal Alphas, he's the character one. Oh, shit, the Jackals might be core. That's the The Genestealers aren't core, is what I was going to say. But the Jackals themselves... So Hybrid Metamorphs can come back. Aberrants are not core, though, so they cannot. Abominants also not core, so they can't come back, which makes sense. Locust, the Reductus... Where are you, Adelan Jackals? There you are. They are core, so they could come back. 2 moon models coming back near the icon word. And let's pull out the rules and see where we're at. Reference. Codex Genestealer Cults. Data sheets. Okay. Jackal Alphas, what do you got for changes here, buddy? It's looking like you have the same core stats. You gained a wound, and you gained a save of 4+. Blasting charges are strength 5 -1 now, and blast, so that's a big increase, but they're grenade D3 instead of D6. And your cult sniper rifle is 5 -3 2 damage, which is a change as well. It's 4 -2 D3 before. And then party target, it's a select a core Crossfire unit within 9 and select an enemy within 36 till the end of the turn. Each time this model makes, or a model that friendly unit makes a ranged attack, the treaty is being exposed. And then Master Outrider, you can shoot, Jackal, you can shoot and declare charge when you fall back. And then while this model is within 6 of a friendly Adelan Jackals or cult vehicle unit, the enemy cannot target this model with ranged weapons unless it's the closest eligible target. Each time attack is made against this model, they're -1 to hit. So he basically gets shielded by friends now, and he's -1 to hit as well. And all the Jackals get the shoot and charge when they fall back. All right, Acolyte Hybrids, what happened with you? Acolyte, this is all... Toughness 4, we saw that in the preview. Pretty much the same otherwise. Weapons, blasting charge is the same change. Your Bone Sword, Bonesaw is ready. +1, -2, 2 damage. Looking like it's kind of the same. It's 2 damage now instead of 1. Your Coat Claws and Knife. What do we got? Running Claw. I don't see Running Claw. It's just Coat Claws and Knife is the actual rule now. And it's -2, 1 damage and additional attack with it. Well, they got Crossfire though, and Unquestioning Loyalty and Conceal. Neophyte Hybrids we saw in the Shadow Throne, and then Pure Strain Genestealers are probably the same as they've ever been. 2+ weapon skill now, 6+ ballistic skill for some weird reason. They've got an extra attack now. They are Leadership 9, 5+ save. Still have a 4+ invulnerable save now, and then charge in advance. Woof! They are fast. Cult Claws and Talons, -3 AP, 1 damage. They're still pretty great. Good old Genestealers. Hybrid Metamorphs, the Zoidbergs of this list. What do we got? Hybrid Metamorphs. You guys got a toughness, just like all the hybrids did. Pretty much the same core stats. Your Bone Sword got the same change. Metamorph Mutation, +1, -3, 1 damage. It used to be called just Metamorph Talon or Claw. And then Savage Amalgam. Each time a model is destroyed by a melee attack. If that model is not fought this phase, do not remove it from play. They can fight and then you remove them. All right, Aberrants. Everybody loved these. What do they got going on now? Are they still the best thing in this list? Quite possibly. They are 3+, 5. Their toughness went up to 5. They got an extra wound to 3. Same number of attacks. Heavy Improvised Weapon is now just +1, -1, 2 damage. And excess damage inflicted is not lost. Keep allocating damage. So it plays Age of Sigmar, and damage splashes through. And then Heavy Power Weapon, +3, -2, 3 damage. So it's not strength 10 anymore, it's only strength 8, but no minus to hit either. And then Hypermorph Tail, just use your -1, 1 damage, make additional attack. That's pretty great. I'm into it. Heavy power weapon, but the heavy improvised weapon, being able to splash damage, that's a huge deal. And then -1 damage when you attack them with Bestial Vigor. That's a huge ability. But no 5+ Moon Shrug. That's gone from Bestial Vigor. Your Abominant, which is the character one. How'd you do? He is only strength 5 now. Got an extra wound. His Familiar's Claws are the same. His Power Sledge, ×2 -3, it's D3+3, so it's a bit more flat for damage and reliable. He has a 5+ Wound Shrug. He's the chosen one. Real hit rolls for Cult of Barrett units within 6 of him. Still has Beastly Vigor, and then Mindworm Familiar, reroll hit or wound roll when resolving your attacks. Mr. Nexus. What do you got going on? The Nexus is ready. He has the same core stats. They haven't changed at all. Still strong with an auto pistol. In your command phase, if he's alive, select an enemy unit in the battlefield, they get a crossfire marker. Sweet. Strategic coordination, in your cult command phase, select one friendly cult core unit in the army, and then select one friendly cult core character within 6 of this model. Primus, Jackal, Alphys, Clamavis until the start of your next command phase. That cult core unit is considered to be within range of that cult character's ability. So he basically he like phones in the reroll ones or whatever for wounds or hits. Your Clamavis, and he can use it twice if he has that one Warlord trait. Or sorry, not the ability. Your Clamavis, DJ Jazzy Genestealer. What do you got going on? You are... Again, same core stats. Look at all the baby characters kept the same core stats. I get your Proclamation Hailer. Cult core within 12. Each time they perform an action, it can shoot without it failing. And you automatically pass combat attrition tests. And then Scrambler Array. Reinforcements can't be set up within 12 of them. And the Voice of New Truths. In your morale phase, select an enemy unit within 12 and roll 3d6. And if it's greater than their leadership, they cannot perform actions if they were performing when it ends. Until the start of your next morale phase, the unit loses the OBSEC ability. Ho, ho, ho. Clamavis, you just went way up in value. Turn off OBSEC and cancel actions that have to go through to the next command phase. That's a big deal. He's almost worth it just for that. The aura of you can shoot too while performing actions is pretty legit. All right, Locust, Mr. Axeman. There's so many characters in this game list. Your core stats are 1 extra attack. You gain an attack. Hypermorph Tail, still just an extra attack. And then your Locust Blades, +1, -3, 2 damage. So you gain damage. Get a 5+ invuln for your reflexes. Bodyguards, while you're within 3 of your ward, you basically pick a ward during deployment. You can't target them with range attacks. While this model is visible, while this model is a viable target for melee attacks made by an enemy model, they have to attack him. Or they don't have to attack him, they can't target the ward. And then Quicksilver Strike, you fight first in the fight phase. Sudden Assault, you can perform a heroic intervention within 6 and move 6. Provided you move close to the close enemy model or within engagement range of an enemy character, because you're going to go hunt characters. And then the Kellermorph, I love this model. He gained an attack, and that's it. His Liberator Auto Stub, 5 -1, 1 damage, Pistol 2, or you can bind the special rounds. No Lookout, Sir, and unmodified wound rolls of 6 do mortal wounds. Gunslinger, each time this attack makes a ranged attack, if a hit scored, after this model makes the rest of its ranged attacks, you can make an additional ranged attack against the same target using the same weapon. And then Hypersensory abilities, in your shooting phase, after this model shoots, you can make a normal move or fall back, even if it arrived from reinforcements. Heroic Deeds, Heroic Inspiration, Aura. This model destroys an enemy model in the shooting phase. Until the end of the phase, it is heroically inspiring. If this model gains Heroic Inspiration while friendly cult core units within 6, reroll hit rolls of 1. And then 5+ invuln for your reflexes. We've seen the Zabutur, the Sanctus. He's the Assassin Man, the Rap Assassinator. He gained nothing to his core stats. His Familiar Claws are the same as the other ones. His Biodagger went down from -2 damage to 1/0/1. And each time it fights, it makes an additional attack with this weapon. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, unmodified wound roll of 3+, inflicts a mortal wound on the target and the attack sequence ends. So you hit with it, and then anything you don't even roll a wound, so you do roll a wound, and all the 3+s do mortal wounds. So you don't need the actual stats because you're just doing mortal wounds with it. That's crazy. And you have 4 attacks, so you just could do 4 mortal wounds to something. And you can replace your biodagger with a cult sniper rifle if you want. Creeping Shadow, 5+ invul, and you're -1 to hit him. Soul Sight, whenever he makes an attack, the attack automatically hits. The target does not receive the benefit of cover. Sweet. So you just auto hit with your Sanctus biodagger and then roll 4 dice for 3+ mortal wounds. He is horrifying. No wonder you can only have 1 of him. Cloaked Assassin, each time a model, enemy models cannot target this model within range attacks if they're not within, unless they're within 12. Each time a range attack is allocated to that model while it's receiving cover, it gets +1 to its saves. So 3+ saves in cover. And then Sniper gains the Crossfire keyword. And the target's always exposed. The Biophagous. All right, so here's the enhancements. And remember, there's a lot of ways to buy extra enhancements with the Biophagous through the upgrades. And, of course, the cult. His core stats are the same. He's got auto pistol, his injector goad. What did that gain? Lost its +1 strength. It's just strength 1 now. But it always wins on 2+ against non-vehicles. And still does D3 damage. The Chem Vials are a new thing. Grenade 1, 1 -2, 2 damage, and always wins on a 2+. And then your familiar once per battle when this model starts to perform a Twisted Experiment to action. You can select a friendly cult core or aberrant unit with an 18 of this model that does not have a genomic enhancement instead of 3. So you can send them over to, like, pop the core on their enhancements. You get genomic enhancements. So Twisted Experiment's an action. 1 Biophagous model from your army can start this action. When it's used, select 1 friendly cult core or cult aberrant unit that's within 3 of this model. Performing this action does not have a genomic enhancement. This action is completed at the end of your shooting phase, provided the unit selected is within 3 of the Biophagous model performing the action. If this action is successfully completed, your unit gains one of the following genomic enhancements. If the unit's an aberrant unit, you can select which genomic enhancement it gains. Otherwise, roll a D3 to randomly generate one. So the aberrants can pick. Otherwise, it's D3. Improve your AP by 1 with melee attacks for musculature. Aggression. Unmodified roll of 6 gets an additional hit. And then enhanced resilience, 5+ wound shrug. And then injector goad, each time this model fights, after it makes attacks, select an enemy model that's not vehicle or titanic that lost any wounds. Roll a d6, the result is equal or greater than its wounds, it's destroyed. So if you hit him with the injector goad and you beat his wound roll on a d6, he just blows up from the whatever the toxin is. And then your Atalan Jackals, did they gain a wound? Atalan Jackals. No, they had a wound. They gained a toughness. No, they had a toughness. What am I looking at here? Gained an attack. And everything else is the same. Your Atalan Incinerator. 5 -1/1 damage. Auto hits. Small arms. It's just the name for their guns now. So pistol 2, 4 strength. They didn't differentiate the weapons. Frag and Crack Grenade Launcher, Heavy Stubber is the same, Mining Laser, Heavy 1, 9 -3, D6 damage. They didn't make it D3 +3. Power Weapon, +1 -2, 1 damage. Blasting Charges, same change. Demo Charges, 8 -3, 2 damage, and Blast. Once per battle. Skilled Outriders, -1 to hit them. They can shoot and declare charge when they fall back. And then Raiders, if the target's within 6 of it, the target is always treated as being exposed. And then Scout, at the start of the first battle round before the first turn begins, if the unit's not set up an ambush, it can make a normal move up to 9 inches as if it was the movement phase. Ridge Runners. Did you get something cool, Achilles Ridge Runner? Because you're a very cool looking model. You got a toughness boost of 6, and a leadership boost. Your missile launcher is an Achilles missile launcher now, so it's heavy 3, 6 -3, 3 damage. Mining laser is the same. Heavy mortar. You are heavy d6, 6 -1, 1 blast, and you can shoot out of line of sight. Your flare launcher, you have a 6+ invul against range attacks. If you're the target of a charge, if the bearer is not within engagement range of enemy units, you're -2 to charge them. And then spotter, Add 12 to the range characteristic of range weapons. So you can have a 48-inch range mining laser. And then Survey Auger. Each time a range attack is made by the bearer, and they target an enemy unit within 24, the target does not receive the benefit of cover. You explode and you scout. The Goliath Rock Grinder. Again, a very cool looking model. What did you get? That's cool. Not a lot of change. 3+ save now. That's pretty cool. And 3+ melee. I mean, you do have a giant rock grinder in front of you. You should have a 3+ melee. Your Clearance Incinerator. Heavy 2d6, 15-inch range, 6-1/1 damage. Demo charges, once per game. Mining lasers, the same. D3 shots, blast. Heavy Seismic Cannon, long wave, heavy 6, short wave, heavy 3. That's 8-3 damage, flat. Heavy Stubbers, heavy 3. Drill Dozer Blade, melee strength 6, +2 is 8, -2 damage. And it makes 2 additional attacks when it charges. So it makes 8, strength 8, -2 damage attacks on the charge with a 3+. That's a pretty horrifying melee attack. And it's... yeah, Rugged Construction, -1 damage. That's pretty great. It's basically Ramshackle, but better. And it explodes. Goliath Rock Grinder got scary. And then Goliath Truck, also getting toughness, looks like 10 wounds. Rugged Construction still, -1 damage. Open topped, so you can shoot out of it. 2 auto cannons, 7-1, 2 damage. Heavy Stubbers, and demo charges. And that's it. We're into the glossary. So there it is. Codex Genestealer Cults. Woof. Well, so what have they done here? They've taken another, we've got pretty much the same miniatures we've had this whole time, plus the Saboteur. They've got the sort of like core mechanics of secondaries put into here, and they've given you a little bit more freedom to like design your own cult. The army still kind of functions the same. It has gimmicks of like, you don't get to see where I am, I can redeploy. The resurgence really nice with the icons, meaning models can come back. The icon word went up in value. Certain models that didn't have a lot of value did gain a bunch of value. I don't see this being the hottest 9th edition Codex ever, but again, anytime models can come back to life, they can heal, they can make it hard for you to shoot and wound them. This army kind of does a little bit of everything, and it has numbers too. It doesn't have a terrible amount of OBSEC, but the OBSEC you take, if you take big fat units, you can be fairly durable just because they come back to life. Like, getting D6 models back per turn is no joke. Neophyte Hybrid's just like, you can summon the cult, you get D6 guys back. That's a pretty big deal. And then the Icon Ward, giving that out to friendly core units within 6, right? So that means that your Acolyte Hybrids, your Jackals, your not Genestealers, sadly, which aren't core. I don't know why they're not core. It bothers me that they're not core, but they kind of account for it because they let the Patriarch treat them like they're core, because it says core or Genestealers, I'm pretty sure, for his thing. I don't know, he doesn't do it. Who am I thinking of? Living Idol? No, he doesn't make anybody reroll. I thought he gave the ore out, but I guess he doesn't. It means that you're going to get a lot of guys back over the course of the turn. It makes you hard to dig out. So it's an interesting army. It's one of those armies that I think if you are like a dedicated Genestealer Cult player, and this is a relatively, like, when I say relatively, I mean like in the 30 plus years that 40k has been around, Genestealer Cults have been around in Rogue Trader, right from the very beginning, but they've never been a big army you could play a lot. They got phased out in 2nd edition when they were just like in the Codex Army Lists book, and then came back by 7th as an army, 6th or 7th. And so they have like a 4 edition gap where there aren't really a lot of veteran Genestealer Cult players out there who've been doing a ton of playing with them for 30 something years. I'm sure there are a few. I hope you tell me in the comments you've been playing that long, and that's really cool. I'm about to build a Rogue Trader Genestealer Cult army, so I'm excited. But it means that you've got, I think, really play this a lot to be able to like soak up the nuance of all the things this army can do. So yeah, an army with basically Guardsman stats, maybe slightly Guardsman plus stats, access to some cool gimmicks of hiding and stuff like that, but a big footprint model-wise, which means it's hard to hide them behind terrain, and a bunch of resurgence. But they do have some big hitty models. They just don't have any big centerpiecey murder thing, and that's kind of where 40k has been leaning the last little while. So I don't know how they're going to do, because they are just a huge mixed bag of tricks. But I love the theme. I absolutely love the Crusade rules. I'm excited to play the Crusade with Jay with these. And I think that's going to be where my experience goes with them. But I feel like there's so many ingredients here. There's got to be a way of cooking up something good. It's going to take a veteran player, I think, to see it more than me, though. So anyway, big thanks for watching. We'll see you for more GMG reviews in the future. So I'm going to mash. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continuing to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching. It really does help out, and happy gaming.